deflated expectations and look at the images page, 13 out of the top 20 examples are from the Gartner hype cycle. And so there's example after example where the industry has sort of gone through this process. So, and as a matter of fact, there's been technologies through the ages where we all know, because many of us have experienced them, where the different models don't quite meet expectations. The people in the capital markets, for instance, right now would tell you that the disparity between the dollar and other currencies in the world, they're going through a period of deflated expectations. And in technology industry, we've had to go through this time and time again. So I actually had to lug one of these Osbornes around early on when I was working for a company over here called Televideo Systems back in the early 80s. And but obviously, we understand what the limitations are, and the technology gets better over time. Bigger monitor. So. And it's the same thing with phones. I mean, the early cell phones were, these big luggables, and people wanted more and more features, and then, well, that isn't quite how you get more features, but you get the idea. So we eventually kind of work these things out, and then some technologies are just perfect when they first start. Like, maybe not this one. I made the mistake of buying an Apple Newton for my wife when it first came out, and the fact we're celebrating our 21st wedding anniversary on Thursday shows that this wasn't the reason she thought of divorcing me, but it was touch and go for a little while there. So so we know we do tend to work these things out. And so what do you do when you're at a crossroads? What do you need to do as an industry to make sure that you're looking at what value is really being generated? So you need a couple of things to get hope back into the dialogue. So the first is standards. So we find that standards, early on in that technology trigger period, there's a lot of different ways to approach things. And so you find that standards actually are a way of sort of rationalizing the best that all the products out there tend to give and allow you to be able to start to integrate. And that process of solving thorny technical and business problems and being able to all agree as to how things can interoperate is a really important part. So as you listen to a lot of the discussions here, I think what you'll find is that people are thinking more and more about how applications and the underlying technology can interoperate. Second is applications, is not just software, but applications as in public safety and others that are delivering real value and that are really matched to the needs of a municipality. I think that's one of the core things I'd also like to make sure that folks take away, is that really what we're looking for is that the dialogue focuses on making sure that in the early phase of any industry, there's a sort of, one-size-fits-all technology can solve a specific technology can solve a wide range of ills. And what you find is after time that you have to really be focused on articulating the needs and matching the technology to it. And I think we're seeing more and more great applications coming in. If you saw the Public Safety Broadband Consortium demonstration earlier, you see that there's a set of technologies all interoperating that are providing great value. You've got to turn up the dial on return on investment as well. You've got to make sure that the value that's being delivered is exactly the value that's needed in that municipality. And it doesn't just mean that it's generating a profit, I think, as several folks were saying earlier on the day. It means that it's delivering the value that community needs. And then finally, what I think we need is stories. We need to, because the stories that have gotten out into the industry, especially by some of the popular press, have been focusing on what they want to label as failures, when instead they're actually just natural processes and natural discussions that happen at any phase like this, where you're trying to figure out how to deliver the right value to the right municipality, to the right constituents. But what we need is and this is one of the things that we hope again you'll walk away from this conference is with those stories. There's tremendous number of great initiatives and great successes that are happening out there in the industry, and we want you to be able to hear those stories, and we want to get those stories back out so that we can start to rise along that curve, and eventually, and we know soon, in many cases, people already are seeing the plateau of productivity. They're already getting the return on investment that they need from those networks. So just a couple of thoughts to start you off. And when I say stories, that's a good lead-in to bring Esme, the founder of MuniWireless, up. Esme, some of you may have seen her blog, Pajama Entrepreneur. She talks about sort of the process that she went through to get here. But Esme has been the one who, from the beginning, has seen that the way to knit this industry together, this arena together, is to tell stories about initiatives and people and companies and products and technologies, and to be able to highlight where the successes are. So